Everybody, and welcome to another live stream. We are getting ready for the first round NIT matchup between Liberty and George Mason. This is a matchup of Conference USA against the A10. We'll preview this game in just a moment. First of all, let's pray. Lord Jesus, thank you for this day. Thank you for doing your will upon us, Lord. And please continue to look over us, Lord. And please look over these players, coaches, fans. Please keep everyone safe tonight, Lord. As I ask in all this, pray this in your name. Amen. All right, Liberty and George Mason to kick off this year's NIT. George Mason, the 3 seed in the Auburn region. As we take a look at the bracket here real quick. Winner of this game here between Liberty and George Mason will get the winner of Nevada and Murray State. That game is tomorrow. Auburn, the top seed in this region, plays this evening against South Alabama. So that is what's at stake for Liberty and George Mason here. Liberty coming in at 25-7. George Mason 23-9. Both teams coming up short in their conference tournament games. So wanting to try to redeem themselves here in this year's NIT. Teams are being announced now. Let's go ahead and take a look at the rest of this bracket real quick. Of course, Auburn, as I told you, the top seed. They will take on South Alabama. That game coming up later on tonight, 10 o'clock Eastern time. Late tip-off in that one. Seattle and St. Thomas of Minnesota, the other side of this bracket. But Liberty and George Mason set to get things underway here in this one. Here's George Mason, the 3 seed. Liberty was led this year by Brett Decker Jr., 16.8 points per game. Corey Mincy led the way for George Mason this year, 14.3. Liberty, a team that averaged just over 78 points a game. George Mason, 73 a game. George Mason going out in their first conference tournament game, losing to St. Bonaventure 63-57 in the quarterfinal round in the A10. Liberty going out in the quarters of the Conference USA tournament 77-69 to Missouri State. So both teams wanting to get that sour taste of the conference tournament out of their mouth and advance on here in this year's NIT to the second round. Michael Lucky, Ryan Sassano, Joe Switzer, the officiating crew for this game, and we are underway. George Mason with the opening possession. Bounce pass inside here to begin this game. Now working it out on the outside. This is Jahari Long with it on the outside. I'll give you the starters here momentarily. Here's a 3-pointer on the way that is short. And rebound pulled down by Liberty. Colin Porter with the board. And Liberty will have their first possession. With it now, it's Zach Cleveland. Cleveland outside over here to Brett Decker Jr. Finds J.J. Harper on the outside. Harper back to Cleveland. Cleveland looking to drive his way inside. Cleveland has it stripped and stolen. Jahari Long comes up with the steal for George Mason. Scoreless first minute in this first round NIT matchup. Turnaround jumper with the left hand is short off the hands of Riley Allensbach, and back comes Liberty the other way. Thought about the 3 was Harper. Instead, he'll pass off inside, and the easy layup for Josh Smith to start the scoring in this one. 2-0 Liberty. George Mason now with possession. Nick Ellington with it here, as he will give it off now to Troutman. Troutman sends it back outside. And a three-pointer on the way. That is off the mark. Rebound pulled down by Liberty. And back come the Flames, up 2-0. 2 minutes in this first half. Nice bounce pass inside, but Cleveland shot it too strong off the glass. And back comes George Mason the other way. Mincy kicks it outside. Now driving is Allensbach inside with the right hand. That won't drop. George Mason 0 for their first 4, and back comes Liberty. Colin Porter with it on the outside for the Flames. Porter looking to drive, and a bounce pass inside. Great feed inside for the dunk for Zach Cleveland, and Liberty jumps out to a 4-0 lead. Zach Cleveland averaged just shy of 12 points a game this season. And now we have our first foul of the game. This one will go against, I believe, J.J. Harper of Liberty. Inbound, it comes for George Mason here. There's a bounce pad. Nice feed inside and one for George Mason on the great feed underneath. Riley Allensbach with the bucket and a three-point opportunity. Foul is charged to Josh Smith. Three-point play converted for Allensbach, and it's a 4-3 lead for Liberty. 3 minutes old, first half. Cleveland brings it up the floor for the Flames. Gives it off now to Colin Porter on the outside. Porter will drive. Porter gets cut off. Nice defensive stand underneath, but Porter's open in the corner and drills a three for Liberty. Colin Porter's first field goal, and it's 7-3 in favor of the Flames. Back the other way comes George Mason. Shot inside, too strong off the back rim. Offensive rebound for George Mason, and the ball knocked out of bounds by Liberty. It will stay with the Patriots. Richie McKay, head coach for Liberty in his 13th season. And Tony Skinn at the other side for George Mason in his third year. George Mason with the inbound, and a corner three off the inbound is good by Corey Mincy. And they call that a long two for Mincy. 7-5 is the score. They'll probably look at that at the timeout. Here's Colin Porter with it for Liberty. And going inside, we have a reach-in foul on the Patriots. This will be the first foul on George Mason. It'll be a under the basket inbound for Liberty. Porter gets it into Cleveland. Cleveland drives, and we've got a hand check foul. So two quick ones here on the Patriots. Liberty brings it in once again. Porter on the drive. Porter pulls up from the foul line. That's short. Rebound pulled down by Dola Adebayo, who just checked in the game for George Mason. Here's Mincy, who just hit the three a couple possessions ago. Mincy kicks it outside. Now a top of the key three-pointer is short. Rebound pulled down by Liberty. Brent Decker brings it up across the timeline for Liberty. Decker with it now. Decker on the outside. Decker looking to drive. Bounce pass to the foul line. Back outside to Decker for three, and he drills it. Brett Decker Jr. with a three-pointer, and that puts Liberty ahead 10-5. Allensbaugh with it for George Mason. Foul line jumper. That's blocked. Colin Porter comes down with the ball for Liberty. Back come the Flames. Here's Decker Jr. on the outside. Decker now drives. Decker gets cut off. Decker sends it back out. And now back over to Decker. Back rim on this three-pointer. Rebound to George Mason. Jahari Long with the ball for the Patriots. Long trying to drive. Now Will gets inside and lays it in with the right hand. Liberty defense fell asleep under the basket, and Jahari Long had the wide open lane and the easy layup. 10-7 in favor of Liberty. Colin Porter bringing it up the floor for the Flames. Porter. Here's Cleveland. Cleveland looking for some help. Finds it here with Brett Decker Jr. Back to Cleveland. Cleveland on the drive. Cleveland, nice bounce pass underneath. But it's off the hands. And George Mason gets a steal and a layup at the other end. A fast break for George Mason. And the layup for Riley Allensbach. And it's a 10-9 game in favor of Liberty. Cleveland with the ball for the Flames. Off now to Brett Decker Jr. Jr. drives. Jr. right-hand layup is good. Brett Decker Jr. now with 5. And Liberty's lead is back to 3 at 12-9. Allensbaugh underside is stripped. Back comes Liberty the other way. 7 minutes into this game. We haven't had our under 16 timeout yet. Cleveland on the outside. I think both teams need a little bit of a breather here. Colin Porter. Porter throws it up at the basket, missed it, and the ball goes out of bounds. It will stay with Liberty, it looks like. And finally, we get our first media timeout with 12:45 to play in the opening half. Very fast-paced first half, and Liberty leads at 12-9 over George Mason. Just over 7 minutes in, underway here in the NIT. We've had a couple substitutions, but I wanted to say Liberty's starting lineup was Zach Cleveland, Josh Smith, Brett Decker Jr., J.J. Harper, and Colin Porter. Starting 5 for George Mason, Nick Ellington, Riley Allensbaugh, Corey Mincy, Masai Troutman, and Jahari Long. Let's say we have had a couple substitutions, but wanted to give you the starting 5 for both teams, as I failed to do that at the beginning of the game. Again, winner of this game will get the winner of tomorrow's game between the number 2 seed Nevada and Murray State. That game will be out in Reno, 10 o'clock Eastern time tip tomorrow night. Missouri Valley against Mountain West in that one. Auburn, the top seed on this side of the bracket. Liberty in this game starting out 5 of 9 for 56%. They've hit both of their three-pointers so far. George Mason, 4 of 11 for 36%. They have missed their first 3 from long range. Both teams could use this little bit of a breather here at the timeout as we win a good 4 minutes without a stoppage there. Teams kind of feeling each other out right now. Can get the nerves. You know, you're done in the regular season conference tournament. Now you got postseason play, 1-0. So both teams trying to get their nerves calmed down, and they've been out there for about 7 minutes now, so it's time for action now. Lots of games on the docket tonight in the NIT. Big schedule tomorrow as well, as the first round will be completed following tomorrow's action. Liberty will inbound here with 3 seconds on the shot clock, so they're going to have to get a shot up here pretty quick. .12:45 remaining opening half. Liberty will inbound here. They do get it in, and I don't think they're aware of the shot clock. They are now. Porter just gets it off. It's an air ball, and that's going to be a shot clock violation against Liberty. Back the ball goes to George Mason. Patriots bring it up the floor. And the drive inside. Tough shot with the left hand, but it's tipped in off the miss. Did not see who tipped that in. Might have been Emmanuel Conga, who just checked in the game at the timeout for George Mason. 12-11 now. Patriots within 1. Drive inside by Porter. Porter gets cut off. Kicks off to Cleveland. Nice pass inside. And the reverse layup for the finish for Xander Carter, who checked in for Liberty at the timeout. 14-11 now. Flames back up 3. George Mason with the ball here. This is Jahari Long on the outside for the Patriots. Guarded by Porter. Now Long will take a three-pointer. That's too strong. Rebound pulled down by Liberty. Xander Carter with the board for the Flames. 11.5 to go, opening half. Liberty with a 3-point lead over George Mason. Zach Cleveland with it on the outside to Brett Decker Jr. Back to Cleveland. Cleveland on the drive. Cleveland with the drive, missed it, but he draws the foul, and that will send Zach Cleveland to the line. But first, a timeout with 11:08 remaining in the opening half. Flames up 14-11 over the Patriots. 2 free throws coming for Liberty on the other side of the timeout. Whoops. Liberty coming into this game 25-7 on the season. George Mason 23-9. Show you the other sides of the bracket here at the next time out. NCAA tournament about to get underway here in about 20 minutes with the first four matchup, UMBC and Howard, to kick off the NCAA tournament. Winner to play the top seed Michigan. Showing highlights of what was now 20 years ago, back in 2006, when George Mason made that miraculous run to the Final Four as an 11 seed that year before going down to Florida in the Final Four round. What a year that was for George Mason, coached then by Jim Larrañaga. Head coach of George Mason, Tony Skinn, a part of that 2006 team. Zach Cleveland at the line here for Liberty. First is good. Second one is also good. Lead for Liberty back to 5, 26-21. Troutman gives it off now to Jahari Long on the outside. And we are going to have a foul away from the ball here. This one's going to go against Liberty. Fourth team found the Flames here in the first half. Driving layup off the inbound, no good. And on the rebound, Liberty took it right away from Stas Sivka, who was going up to get his miss on the offensive rebound, but he had it taken away from him. Liberty now with it. Colin Porter. Great pass inside and the easy layup underneath for Liberty. And that pushes the lead now to 7. J.J. Harper with the layup for the Flames. George Mason here with Corey Mincy. Over it comes now to Kanga. Malik Presley with it. Bounce pass inside. Kanga with the left hand. Can't get it to drop. Rebound pulled down by Liberty. Midway point, first half. Flames look for a 9-point lead. Maybe 10 if this three goes, and it does for Colin Porter. And that will lead to a George Mason timeout. Liberty has jumped out to a 10-point lead, 21-11. 9:53 remaining in the opening half. Good start here for the Flames. They are 67% from the floor, 8 of 12 shooting. Just a red-hot offensive start for Liberty. George Mason, on the other hand, just 5 of 16 shooting from the floor, 31%. So could not ask for a better start from Richie McKay and the Liberty Flames. Here comes George Mason out of the timeout. Turnaround jumper in the paint is good. That's a big basket there for Masai Troutman. Stops the Liberty run and pulls George Mason back within 8 at 21-13. J.J. Harper with it now for Liberty. Back outside to Colin Porter. Porter behind the back pass finds Harper. Harper will now get in the paint. The turnaround jumper, that's short. Rebound pulled down by George Mason. And back come the Patriots. Troutman outside, a three-pointer. That's around and out. George Mason now 0 for 5 from beyond the arc. Back comes Liberty the other way. Up by 8, under 9 to go first half. Porter, and that ball is kicked as he tries to go inside with it. That'll reset the shot clock to 20, and Liberty will get the inbound. Inbound here to Decker. Decker off to Cleveland. Cleveland, nice pass inside and a great feed inside and the layup for J.J. Harper. Great unselfishness there for Liberty, and Harper got free for the layup. 23-13, Liberty by 10. And on the drive for George Mason, we're going to have a foul here on Liberty. Troutman was driving with the ball and he got fouled. Be the 15th foul on the Flames here in the first half. And George Mason will bring it in. George Mason's only been called for 3 fouls here in the first half, so only 8 combined fouls in the first 12 minutes. Normally, when you get to postseason play, officials let the players play a little bit more, which I like. Here's the drive inside with the right hand. Can't get it to go there by Malik Presley. And back come the Flames. They can build this lead to 12 or 13. And another great pass, but Cleveland can't finish this time underneath. Porter with a great pass underneath to Cleveland, but he couldn't quite finish. Jahari Long for George Mason. Now the pass to Allensbach. Outside to Troutman. Allensbach goes inside and gets fouled on the way up. He will have 2 free throws as he was fouled by J.J. Harper. That'll be his second. 7:37 to play first half. NIT first round. Flames of Liberty up 10 on George Mason. Coming up at halftime, show you the complete NIT bracket, the matchups, and the games coming on later on tonight. Give you an update on that NCAA tournament first 4 game, which will be tipping off here in about the next 12 to 15 minutes. And we had some coaching news come down from the NCAA coming and in basketball here in the last couple days. We'll run that down as well. World Baseball Classic Championship game is tonight. United States and Venezuela. Liberty still shooting very well, 60% from the floor. They have made all 3 of their 3-point shots. George Mason, meanwhile, has not hit a 3 yet. Only 5 combined turnovers in the first half. Both teams protecting the ball very well. So 2 free throws will be coming here for George Mason out of the timeout. First free throw on the way is good by Riley Allenspach. And he will have one more here for George Mason. Got that one too. 23-15. Liberty's lead is 8, and now a slight press shown here by George Mason. Liberty able to get across the timeline, no problem. Colin Porter with it. Porter will drive. Porter gets cut off, sends it outside now to Cleveland. Cleveland back to Porter on the outside. Great pass again to Cleveland, and Cleveland is fouled, and he will head to the line. I believe they're calling that a shooting foul. They are. Zach Cleveland heads to the line for Liberty. Only a 51% free throw shooter this year. He is able to hit the first, however. One more free throw coming for Cleveland. Got those. Look pretty good on those. 25-15, lead back to double digits for Liberty as we near 7 to play in the opening half. Jahari Long. Bounce pass inside is taken away by Porter of Liberty. Anticipated where that pass was going and had an easy takeaway. And Cleveland at the other end is bumped. Dola Adebayo whistled for the foul for George Mason. That'll be his first. And Cleveland heads right back to the line for Liberty for 2. He missed that one. Second is good by Cleveland. 26-15, the Liberty lead over George Mason. George Mason could use a basket here. This is Corey Mincy on the drive. Mincy off-balance jumper. That'll go down for Corey Mincy. Mincy with his second field goal. He's got 4 points, 26-17. Liberty up 9. Cleveland with the ball. Cleveland into the corner now to Xander Carter. Now Carter drives. Reverse layup is good as Xander Carter drove inside. Got the reverse layup to go. And it's 28-17. This ties Liberty's largest lead of the first half. Three-pointer on the way for George Mason. That's well short, and that ball will go out of bounds back to Liberty. George Mason still has not hit a 3 here in the first half. Here comes Colin Porter up the floor for Liberty as they look to take their largest lead of this game with a basket this trip. And they will on the great pass from Cleveland inside as he finds Xander Carter. And the Liberty lead is now 13, 30-17. Pull-up jumper at the other end, around and out. Rebound to Cleveland for Liberty. Porter to Cleveland, and he will slow up and run the offense for Liberty. Cleveland outside to Porter, back to Cleveland. Cleveland over to Carter. Xander Carter thought about the three, instead passes back out, and Liberty will reset. 10 on the shot clock. Decker gets inside, puts it up and in with the right hand. Brett Decker with 9. Liberty's lead is 15. Three-pointer on the way. That's no good. 0 for 6 now for 3 is George Mason. Back comes Liberty again. This is Decker. Decker off to Cleveland. Cleveland on the outside, out to Decker. 4-3 off the front of the rim. No good. George Mason would have had to take another timeout there if that would have dropped. Going inside, this is Kanga. The turn will not drop. Gets his own rebound. Putback is short. And the rebound pulled down by Liberty. George Mason has gone stone cold. They're now just 28% shooting in this first half. Hey, Travis, how you doing? Yeah, here's a three-pointer. No. Tip, no good. Rebound pulled down by George Mason. I'll talk about that here at the timeout. In the corner here, George Mason needs a basket desperately. Here's a three-pointer on the way. They finally hit a three, and a much-needed three, as that one's from Jahari Long, and it's 32-20. And we've got a stoppage of play here, as that will be the under 4 timeout. 32-20 as Liberty takes the timeout here. Liberty up a dozen. 3:07 to play here in the first half. First of all, Travis, thanks for joining me once again. Good. No, first of all, the CBI, they came out last week and said that for reasons beyond their control, which again, whatever that means, that there would be no CBI tournament held in 2026. So yes, the college basketball crown, we had the 8 teams announced for that yesterday. And yeah, Belmont is a big story. Belmont, of course, their head coach, Casey Alexander, took the Kansas State job. But I still say there's no reason whatsoever an assistant coach could not have coached you through your NIT run. And I think Belmont, if it's the Belmont team we saw in the regular season, not the Belmont team that fell on their face in the Missouri Valley tournament, but if we saw the Belmont team we saw all throughout conference play, I think they had a legitimate chance to make a deep run, if not win the NIT this year. Then that's a possibility with the teams, but you still cannot tell me that you could not find, what does the CBI have? 16 teams, 12, whatever it is that they have. You can't tell me that you couldn't find 12 teams, 16 teams, whatever it is. I find that very hard to believe, but because the NIT, to my knowledge, we had like 12 opt-outs of the NIT last year. To my knowledge, this year, we only had 4 that I know of. So, and one of the teams that opted out of the NIT was Oklahoma, but they opted out of the NIT because they are playing in the Crown. So at least they're still playing. So But yeah, Belmont, Virginia Tech, I guess Belmont, Virginia Tech, Seton Hall. I'm going to say that kudos to Auburn. I mean, absolute kudos to Auburn. There's a lot of their fans wondering, second guessing their decision to play. I have no idea why they're second guessing that decision. If there's postseason ball to play, play it. Absolute kudos go out to Auburn, Oklahoma State, all these other teams that did not baby and wussy out because you didn't get your way and make the NCAA tournament. Yes, I said it. And kudos to the teams playing in the Crown, too. I mean, there's some NIL money involved there. Yeah, Auburn, and I like what Stephen Pearl said. He says, I'm here to coach basketball. We've got more basketball to play, and we're going to play it. So I love what Stephen Pearl said. Ready for Wichita State in the 6 o'clock? Yeah, we'll run down the whole bracket here coming up at halftime. Liberty out of the timeout. Porter on the outside. A dangerous pass there, but Decker able to get it for Liberty. 3 to shoot. They're going to have to put up a three-pointer. That's too strong. Off the hands of Xander Yates, and back comes George Mason. They can cut this to 10 or 9 with a 3. Jahari Long with the ball outside for George Mason. Long will try a 3. Back rim, no. Offensive rebound for George Mason. And now the spin move inside, but Mincy gets cut off, but finds his man, but the shot too strong off the hands of Kanga. And Porter pulls down the rebound for Liberty and will slow it down as he brings it up across the midcourt stripe as we hit 2 to play in the first half. Open three-pointer on the way. That is well short. Liberty will get the offensive rebound. And a fresh 20. Here's Porter. Inside Cleveland with the right hand. That's short. Rebound pulled down by the Patriots. Liberty's now gone a little cold from the floor. Back the other way comes George Mason. A double team inside, but going up anyway with it with the left hand and putting it in was Jahari Long. And George Mason's within 10 here, 32-22. Final 75 seconds of the first half. Great pass there to Decker, but couldn't hang on to the pass. George Mason takes it away. Mincy now inside. Mincy up strong, right hand, can't get it to drop. Offensive rebound for George Mason for Allenspaugh, and he is fouled. And that will be Liberty's 7th team foul, so it'll be a 1-and-1. Yeah, Travis, I like your comment. Yeah, the NIT, you're still getting an opportunity to play postseason ball. I mean, that's what makes me mad. I mean, there's still, you got 68 teams in the NCAA, 32 in the NIT, and 8 in the Crown. First of the 1-and-1 is good. So that's still 108 teams playing postseason ball, and there's 368, whatever it is, Division I teams. So still less than a third of teams get to play postseason ball. That's why it absolutely irks me when these teams. Yeah, I think this NIT field is as strong as it's been in a long time, minus a lot of power conference teams. 2 free throws here cuts the Liberty lead to 8, 32-24. Final 40 seconds, first half. Here's Cleveland. Outside, three-pointer on the way, around no good. Offensive rebound, putback is good. And that pushes the lead back to 10. Josh Smith with the offensive rebound putback for Liberty. Shot clock is off. George Mason can run for the final shot of the first half. Final 7 seconds. Jumper around and out. Rebound to Cleveland. 1 second. 3/4 court heave at the whore. He almost made that. And we are going to halftime with Liberty up 34-24 over George Mason. Second round date against either Nevada or Murray State on the line for one of these two teams. As Liberty has a 10-point lead at intermission over the number 3 seed in this region, the Patriots of George Mason. Travis, to answer your last comment here about playing for a championship, yes, it's not the championship in the tournament you want to be in, but you're still having an opportunity to play for a championship. Like you said, classic. Look at Nebraska last year. They go to the Crown. They win the Crown last year, and look at the momentum it's given them for this year. So that's why you get these teams that constantly year in and year out turn down postseason bids, because it's not an NCAA bid. There's one team that I'm calling out in particular that is right here in my home state of Indiana. I think everybody knows who I'm talking about. And this year, to me, it is more inexcusable because they do not open the transfer portal until the day after the NCAA national championship game. So that's why this year, to me, makes it even more inexcusable. So 34-24 here at the half. Let's go ahead and look at the bracket here in the NIT. Again, looking at this side here, you've got this game here with this winner to take on the winner of tomorrow's Murray State-Nevada game. That'll be a 10 o'clock Eastern time tip out in Reno. That would be, I believe they're on Mountain Time. I believe that'll be an 8 o'clock local time tip. Out there in Reno, Auburn, the top seed in this region against South Alabama. South Alabama is a funny story, too. They got the auto bid, not for being the top of the Sun Belt, but there was that little mishap last year in the NIT where South Alabama... Southern India. Yes, Travis, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. Yeah, South Alabama got an interesting story. They had the invite last year. However, another team was already invited and accepted, which filled out the field. So South Alabama had an invite that they shouldn't have had. So the NIT, trying to make it right, gave them the auto bid for this year as long as they met the criteria, which they did. And so kudos to the NIT for trying to make that right. I can't remember who the team was last year that got in over them. I can't remember who it was now, but so kudos to the NIT for trying to make it right there to the Jaguars of South Alabama. And their treat is Auburn. And the number 4 seed in this region, Seattle, they'll take on St. Thomas of Minnesota. So this is St. Thomas's first year of postseason eligibility. They moved up from Division III 5 years ago. So they are finally postseason eligible this year. And they do get the bid out of the Summit League. So we go down in the bracket here. We got a number 1 seed, Wake Forest, on the other number 1 seed on this side. They will open against Navy. Good to see Navy get the postseason bid after the year they had. Dayton, the number 2 seed, but they have to go on the road because, of course, UD Arena is used for the first 4, the NCAA tournament. So Dayton has to go to Peoria to take on Bradley. That will be a 9 o'clock Eastern time tip tomorrow. Yale, the number 3 seed, Ivy League regular season champions, but fell short in overtime in the Ivy League title game. And then the number 4 seed, Redbirds of Illinois State. Being the Missouri Valley Conference fan that I am, if you look down the bracket and Illinois State and Bradley both get through the 2 rounds, that I-74 battle between Illinois State and Bradley is a possible NIT quarterfinal matchup. Let me just say there's not a whole lot of love lost between those two schools that are 30 minutes apart. They're down I-74. As we go to the other side of the bracket, the New Mexico Lobos get the top seed. In the upper right side of the bracket, they open with Sam Houston tomorrow. Cal, the number 2 seed. Colorado State and Utah Valley, the 3 and 4 seeds on that side of the bracket. There's some pretty interesting matchups here on this side of the bracket. Colorado State St. Joseph's, very, very intriguing to me. And that Sam Houston team is a good team, a 22-win team. Don't count them out with the upset chance over New Mexico tomorrow. And then on the final side of the bracket, Tulsa gets the number 1 seed in the bottom right-hand side of the bracket. Then you've got Oklahoma State, Davidson, Wichita State, Wyoming. That game about to tip off here in about 10 minutes out there at Charles Koch Arena. And UC Irvine, UNLV. That's going to be a fun one, too. That's coming up later on tonight out west there. But I like that matchup, that Tulsa. That is not an easy opening game for Tulsa. Stephen F. Austin, a 28-game winner, fell short in the Southland Conference Championship game against McNeese. But that is, the NIT committee did Tulsa no favors on this side. You've got, if you by chance get past Stephen F. Austin, then you're going to have to get either UC Irvine or UNLV. Another tough game. Another tough team. And then you got Wichita State and Oklahoma State on the other side. Wichita State making it all the way to the American Championship game, and Oklahoma State, they've been up and down in the Big 12. Started out well, or started out non-conference well, had a bad start to Big 12 play, kind of turned it around there in the second half to get themselves a NIT postseason berth and a number 2 seed. So that, I think, is the toughest draw for any of the number 1 seeds. Tulsa did not get any favors given to them. So that is the NIT bracket here. Some coaching news that came down yesterday, in case you missed it. Butler head coach Thad Matta announcing his retirement. Butler, second go at Butler for Thad Matta has not gone as well the second time around for him. But, you know, he's retired, still one of the best coaches in the game. Just wasn't able to quite get it done in his second stint there at Butler. He announces his retirement yesterday. Yeah, you're right, Travis. I'm actually anxious to see how Auburn. I'm not going to be able to be on for that game tonight. It comes on a little late for me, and I still have to get up early morning tomorrow for my full-time job. So with that late tip time, I'm not going to be able to do that game tonight. I was wanting to until I saw the 10 p.m. tip Eastern time. But yeah, I'm very anxious to see how Auburn comes out. I may be able to stay up for the first half of that game. There's no way I'm going to be able to make it through the whole thing. But I'm anxious to see how Auburn comes out in that game. You know, Stephen Pearl said to his knowledge, nobody's opted out, which if that's the case, that's fantastic. So I know they've got an issue with, I think one of the players they're having a little bit of an issue with, but yeah, that first round, you're exactly right, Brad. That first round, you know, getting over the disappointment, not getting in the NCAA, but you're right. If you get that first game, I think you kind of get in your groove. And then you can kind of go from there. As far as, I don't know why my live chat is so big tonight. It's usually I can get like 2 or 3 or 4 messages in there. I don't know why the live chat's so big tonight. But anyway, that's irrelevant. But yeah, so I'm anxious to see how these teams, we don't have a whole lot of power conference teams in it. Auburn, Oklahoma State. Yes, I'm going to be very anxious to see how they come out. Especially Auburn. They are underway in the first 4 game in the NCAA tournament. UMBC and Howard. 6 minutes in, Howard has an early 6-point lead over UMBC. That's still very early there in the first half in Dayton as the NCAA first 4 is getting underway. Steering clear just for a second of college basketball, we had an NFL trade today that I thought was very interesting. This is going to be just a brief. I just want to point this out here on the NFL, but Jalen Waddle of the Dolphins, he gets traded to Denver for some draft picks. So the Broncos get a big pickup there with Jalen Waddle traded from Miami out west to Denver. And the Dolphins, in return, just getting some draft picks. Dolphins will get the Broncos' first-round pick and third and fourth-round picks in replace for Jalen Waddle. So don't know that Miami actually did themselves any favors there, but yeah, Travis, yeah, I did the when Northern Iowa won the Missouri Valley, I was thinking 14 seed, maybe 13 if they were left. I was kind of surprised when I saw them as a 12 seed, but then I saw who their matchup was going to be in the 12-5, and I know those 12-5s are always the big picks. A lot of people are picking Northern Iowa. I saw Northern Iowa all throughout the Missouri Valley tournament a couple times this year. I just don't think they're going to be able to handle the big and the physicalness that St. John's is going to bring. I just don't see Northern Iowa being able to hang in that game. But we'll see what happens. Yeah, you're exactly right. Like Texas Tech, Akron drew Texas Tech, and I think Akron, as a 12 seed, has a very, very good chance of winning that game. I've got a couple of 12-5s, and I've got Akron possibly pulling the upset over Texas Tech. And what was the other one? I don't have a bracket in front of me, but it wasn't McNeese. It wasn't McNeese. It was whatever the other 12 seed was. But yeah, the Northern Iowa, I just don't see Northern Iowa being able to. Yeah, now St. John's, I was surprised to see them get a 5 seed too. I thought winning the Big East and winning that championship game by 20 points, I thought they'd get moved up to at least a 4, but that was not the case. Travis, that's actually a very good question about Belmont. Yeah, I think Belmont had a chance to be, at the very worst, I think they were going to be a 2 seed. I think they had a very good chance of being a 1. But yeah, a 2 seed at the very, very worst, I think, is what Belmont would have got. It would have been very interesting to see who their first round opponent would have been. And unfortunate there with Belmont, that. Here it is Liberty up 10. Let's go ahead and run down some of the first half stats from this one. Liberty 52%, but they were in the 60s for a lot of the first half. They really cooled off there. At the end of the first half, 52%, 3 of 8 from three-point range. They end up missing their last 5, though, after hitting their first 3. 5 of 6 at the free throw line. George Mason in that first half, just 9 of 31 for 29%, just 1 of 8 from beyond the arc. 13%. They were a perfect 5 of 5 at the free throw line. Not a whole lot of turnovers in the first half. Teams did a pretty good job protecting the ball. 4 turnovers for Liberty, 3 for George Mason. (18-12) edge points in the paint for Liberty. Individual scoring in that first half, Brett Decker Jr. leading the way for the Flames with 9, 6 apiece from Colin Porter and Xander Carter, 4 points. I'm sorry, excuse me, 7 points out of Zach Cleveland, 6 from Colin Porter and Xander Carter, 4 points from Josh Smith, and 2 out of J.J. Harper. All 5 starters scored in that first half for Liberty. George Mason was led by Riley Allensbach, 9 points in the first half. Jahari Long added 7, 4 out of Corey Mincy, and 2 apiece from Masai Troutman and Emmanuel Kanga. Just 5 players scored in that first half for George Mason as they find themselves in a 10-point hole. Trav just started to say, yeah, it's been snowing here pretty much all day the last couple days. It hasn't accumulated to much, and it's been colder and windier and snot here the last couple days too. Yeah, yes. Yeah, the up and down weather, that's what we're going through here too. I think it's going to push 80 on Friday here where I'm at, here just south of Indianapolis where I'm at. And I forgot to mention it at the outset for all of you that are in. Happy St. Patrick's Day to everyone out there. So we are just about ready to start half number 2 here between Liberty and George Mason. George Mason in a 10-point hole. Can they come back here? Teams getting their final instructions here before we begin the second half. And underway, half number 2. Colin Porter with it here for Liberty. Porter will pop and miss it. That was a long 2 out of bounds off George Mason. It will stay Liberty ball. Inbound here to Cleveland. Cleveland looking to drive now. Will spins his way inside, kicks it out for a wide open 3-pointer that is drilled by Josh Smith. And that extends Liberty's lead to 13, 37-24. George Mason's first possession of the second half results in a turnover and a slam at the other end on a fast break for Liberty. J.J. Harper and the Flames have their largest lead of 15, 39-24. Just over a minute into the second half. Danger time here for George Mason, you'd think. On the drive, outside, here's a 3-pointer. Good. A big 3 and a much-needed 3 for George Mason from Jahari Long, and that'll make it 39-27. Just the second 3 of the game, of this game for George Mason. Travis on my live chat, a Wichita State fan, obviously tonight. We're rooting for the Shockers. 3-pointer, no good for Liberty. And now Long goes inside with the right hand. We'll get the roll. That's 5 straight for Jahari Long. 39-29. Patriots back within 10 as Colin Porter brings it up for Liberty. So a good 5-0 answer here for George Mason when it looked like Liberty was pulling away a little bit. Here's Cleveland. Outside to Porter. 10 to shoot. Porter drives. Porter trying to keep his pivot foot down, guarded well. Shot clock down to 1. Porter has to launch a long one and misses short. Great defensive series that time for George Mason, and back come the Patriots. Long bumped. Shot won't go, but he will go to the line for 2. Yeah, I remember I was living I was living in Indiana in a Missouri Valley Conference area when Wichita State was still in the Missouri Valley. And every year when I would go to St. Louis every year for the Missouri Valley tournament and would always see the Shocker fan. Boy, did they travel well when they were in the Missouri Valley. 2 free throws here. This is a 7-0 run for George Mason, 39-31. Here's Cleveland. Cleveland, bad pass and almost a steal and then a foul on George Mason. I've got actually, if you can stay with me, I know you, Travis, you said you had to leave. If you can stay with me to the first time out, I've got a funny story about Wichita State. One of the very first games I went to, one of the very first college basketball games I went to was Wichita State, Indiana State. I was like probably 11 or 12 years old, but I still remember it well. I've got a funny story about that. If you can stay with me here, and I'll tell that story here at the timeout. 3 minutes into the second half, here's Porter off to Cleveland. Porter open on the outside. Porter with a bounce pass and one in a dunk. I say I remember it. I vaguely remember it, but I remember my mom took me to the game and we were there, and I always remember her telling stories about it. I vaguely remember it, so I'll 3-point play here makes it 42-31 Liberty, and the drive inside, nice answer for George Mason, and it's 42-33. Cleveland with a nice pass. Reverse layup blocked, but there to clean up the mess is Josh Smith for the rebound putback. 44-33. Liberty up 11. They've been keeping George Mason at arm's length here. And we've got a foul inside on Liberty on the pass inside to Emmanuel Kanga. Kanga will head to the line for 2. First free throw, no good. Second is good. 44-34. 4 minutes old, second half. Decker with the ball for Liberty. Off to Porter. Porter finds Cleveland. Cleveland cross-court pass. And the drive inside as Harper goes up for the shot. He gets fouled. And he will head to the line for 2 following our first media timeout of the second half. 15:49 to go. Liberty up 10, and free throws coming on the other side of the break. To the story I was going to tell you. I lived in Terre Haute at the time, which of course is a home of Indiana State. So I would go, this was back in probably late 80s, early 90s. You were talking about Wichita State being terrible. Indiana State was terrible too. Indiana State, with the exception of 2 or 3 years, and there has been terrible for 30 years. But there was a game, Indiana State and Wichita State. I'm trying to remember, my mom's has told me this, and I vaguely remember it, so I'm going to try to remember as much as I can of it. There was a hard foul underneath. Wichita State player and an Indiana State player started jawing at each other. Well, the benches emptied, and there was almost a full-blown brawl that broke out. Officials finally got cooler heads to prevail. There was a double technical, of course. The entire Indiana State bench got thrown out of the game. All the assistant coaches for Indiana State got thrown out of the game. They let the head coach stay out. Because you had to have somebody out there coaching. So Indiana State, for like the last 10 minutes of the game, played the game with 4 players. 2 of them fouled out. So by the end of the game, Indiana State had 2 players left on the court. Obviously did not win the game, but it's a funny story. Like I said, that was one of the first games I ever attended. It was one for the history books. No. I can't read. I do not. I couldn't even tell you the players' names that started, but you know, it was one to remember. Like I say, I'm still 35 years later, vaguely remember it, but yeah, I don't know if there's. I haven't even ever looked it up. I don't know if there's any like archived newspaper article or any archived article of it or anything. I'll have to look it up here someday, see if there's anything about it. Oh. 44-34, Liberty in front of George Mason. Liberty still at 52% shooting. George Mason at 35%. $15:49 remaining here in the second half. First free throw up and good. Okay, Travis, second one is good. February 23rd, 1989 was the date of that Wichita State, Indiana State game I was telling you about. Here's George Mason with the ball. Jahari Long with it. So I would have been 12 when that happened. Drive inside, layup, no. There's a lot of contact under there, but no foul, out of bounds off Liberty. It will stay with George Mason. Been 8 at the time. Yeah, I would have been 12, so it was... And a bad pass taken away by Liberty. That's a turnover for George Mason. Colin Porter with the ball on the outside for Liberty. Cleveland gets inside. Spin move. Left hand can't get it to drop. Rebound pulled down by the Patriots. Pull-up jumper in the paint is short, but an offensive rebound for Mincy off his own miss puts it back and scores. Corey Mincy makes it a 10-point game once again, 46-36. Long jumper here, no good. Rebound pulled down by George Mason. They can cut this to single digits. Long for 3. That's good. And George Mason cuts this to 7. This is as close as this has been in quite a while, as we still have 14 minutes to play. Liberty's lead was 15 earlier this half. Porter with it. And we've got a foul underneath off the ball. This will go against George Mason. Their 4th foul here in the second half. The players involved in that, the Indiana State, Darren Lyles for Indiana State, you do not remember him at all, and Wichita State, Sasha Radunovich. None of those players' names are. I don't have any recollection of either one of those play. I just know it was 2 players, but those names don't ring a bell or anything. But Decker hits the shot for Liberty, and then a foul for George Mason. Two free throws here for George Mason. First is good. Second, no good. 1 of 2 at the line. It's 48-40. Xander Carter. Over now to Colin Porter. Cleveland on the drive. Cleveland kicks it out. Corner. Open 3 is good for Josh Smith. He's got 15, and just like that, the lead balloons back to 11 for Liberty, 51-40. Troutman with it. Over to Mincy now on the outside. 3-pointer, George Mason trying to answer. They do. George Mason starting to heat up a little from 3-point range. Jahari Long, he's got 20 now. 51-43. Liberty lead back to 8. Still 12:40 to go. And we're going to have a foul called here against George Mason. John Cooper. That's named. The only John Cooper I know is the former Ohio State football coach, but I don't recognize the basketball player's name. Drive inside, no good. Liberty had the offensive rebound, but lost it. Here come the Patriots. Chance to cut this to a 2-possession game, but they turn it over as Mincy lost the handle. Carter outside to Porter, and Porter will set the offense for Liberty. Porter on the drive. Porter gives it off to Cleveland. Porter gets free in the corner. Hits another 3 in front of the Liberty bench. Colin Porter now has 9. 54-43. Every time George Mason looks like they may make a run to get this close, Liberty's had an answer. Long with it. Long will pull up. Long will miss it. Rebound pulled down by Josh Smith. Great pass inside, going up for a dunk, but missed it. Oh, that would have brought the rim down if he would have hammered that one down. And then Cleveland commits a foul for Liberty. Looks like Mincy a little shaken up there for George Mason on that foul. Timeout with 11.5 to go. Liberty 54-43 over George Mason. Almost had a monster dunk at the other end. They're looking at Mincy here on the sideline. $11.5 left. Yeah, you're talking about the building and the name change. Coke Arena is the same building as Levitt Arena, is it not? They just did that refurbishment and changed the name, like you said, but I believe it's the same building, is it not? Liberty 50% shooting, George Mason 38%. They've upped their shooting percentage here in the second half. Liberty's 43% from beyond the arc. George Mason 36%, but they have made four of their last six from the outside. Both teams shooting very well at the free throw line. Liberty's 8 for 9, George Mason's 9 for 11. Rebounds are all square at 23. Yeah, I thought it was the same building. I remember when it was Levitt Arena, and then there used to be a building. I thought it was a pretty nice building. I'd never went there, but it seemed like I remember the old Kansas Coliseum out there. I know it's gone now, but like some of these old time arenas and stadiums, I wish they would find some kind of refurbishment. They're getting rid of a lot of them, which is unfortunate. Yeah, I remember Wichita played a few games. I believe they hosted an NCAA regional or something out there at the Coliseum one year, if I'm not mistaken. Unfortunate to see some of these old historic buildings just go by the wayside or not finding something to do with them. Oh, okay, so it is still there then. Okay, well, that's good. At least then if that's the case, at least they're still getting some use out of it. Here, following the timeout, Liberty has led throughout this game. And a technical foul, looks like a flagrant one. The officials went back and looked at something during the timeout. I'm sure it had to do with that hit on Mincy, and they have issued a flagrant one foul. So Mincy's at the line, and he missed the second. He did hit the first. So Zach Cleveland was issued a flagrant one during the timeout. Okay, so they're using that building for aerospace then. Okay, like I said, at least it's still getting you. There's a nice block for Liberty. Put back, no, but a third try is good for George Mason. And it's 54-46. Again, they're within 8 here. Porter brings the ball up the floor for Liberty. Cleveland, nice bend. The reverse layup is good by Brett Decker Jr. That gives him 13. And again, Liberty pushes the lead to 10. Driving inside here is Troutman. Troutman is shot no good. We do have a foul called on Liberty here. Troutman will head to the line. First free throw's good. Yeah, all these cities are building these downtown arenas, and it makes the old buildings basically defunct. One of the classic examples of that was the Palace up there, even though it was an hour outside Detroit, out there in Auburn Hills. It was only 20 years old, but they built that downtown arena. And it was, since it was so far out there, it basically made that building useless. 1 of 2 again for George Mason. It's 56-47. There's a nice bounce pass inside to Smith. Reverse layup. Count it, and 1. Josh Smith will have an opportunity for a 3-point play for Liberty. Riley Allenspach called for the foul. And a chance to build this lead back to 12 for Liberty with the free throw. Short. Knocked out of bounds. It's going to go George Mason's way. Bringing it up across the timeline are the Patriots. Kanga. Off now to Jahari Long. Long with 7 to shoot. Long stripped. Gets it back. Down to 3 on the shot clock. They're going to have to put this up here. Long just does get it off, and it hits just the backboard. That's going to be a shot clock violation against George Mason. Good defensive series that time for Liberty. As Richie McKay, the Liberty head coach, looking for, he's just 3 wins shy of 300 at Liberty, looking to get to 298 as Liberty head coach tonight. Porter on the drive. Porter to Smith. Smith, the turnaround right-hand shot will not drop. Rebound pulled down by George Mason. 9:15 to go. Drive outside, open 3, no. Rebound pulled down by Liberty. And a head of the court pass off the glass. Xander Carter a little out of control there. He probably needed to kick that one back out. George Mason back the other way. Top of the key 3-pointer on the way. That's short. Offensive rebound, however. Kanga puts it back up, scores, and 1. Emmanuel Kanga with a chance for a 3-point play for George Mason to try to cut this back to 8 again. Emmanuel Kanga, 5 points tonight, looking for his 6th here at the line to try to pull the Patriots back within 8. He does. 58-50. George Mason's had this as close as 7, but have not been able to get any closer. Porter tries a 3. That's short. Liberty with the offensive rebound, though, but George Mason takes it away. Another chance to get this down to 2 possessions. Mincy, pull-up jumper in the paint is good. Corey Mincy now with 9, and this is as close as this game has been since early in the first half. 58-52. Patriot fans come to their feet. Liberty gets inside and a dunk. My goodness. They left the lane wide open, and Brett Decker Jr. took advantage and stuffs it down for Liberty. 60-52. George Mason trying to answer here. Devin Booker with it. Now goes outside to Mincy. Mincy with 10 to shoot. Mincy pulls up for three. Good. Corey Mincy with a dozen. It's a 5-point game, 60-55. Still 7.5 to go, and Liberty's going to turn it over. It looks... George Mason can make this a one-possession game. The crowd on their feet. Mincy looking to drive. Now will pull up jumper. Too strong. Rebound to Liberty, but we have a foul on the Flames. 7:07 to go. It's gotten interesting. 60-55. This is as close as this game has been since very early in the ballgame. Liberty still shooting 50% from the floor. George Mason now at 39%. Liberty 6 of 15 from 3. George Mason 5 of 14. 8 of 10 free throw shooting for Liberty for 80%. 12 of 16 for George Mason, 75%. George Mason's now taken a 5-rebound edge. 2 in double figures for the Flames. Josh Smith has 17. Brett Decker Jr. with 15. 9 points out of Colin Porter, 7 out of Zach Cleveland, 6 from J.J. Harper, and from Xander Carter. George Mason's led by Jahari Long's 23 points. Corey Mincy with 12. That's the 2 in double figures for George Mason. 9 points out of Riley Allensbach. 6 off the bench from Emmanuel Kanga, and 5 out of Masai Troutman. Again, just 5 players have scored for George Mason. But it is only a 5-point game with just over 7 minutes to play. Again, winner of this game to advance to take on the winner of Murray State, Nevada. That game tomorrow night in Reno. So George Mason trying to complete the comeback here. Liberty was up 10 at halftime. Led by as many as 15 here in the second half. Holy cow, that's one of the most active band directors I have ever seen. He is, wow. George Mason, band director, with some moves. Free throws coming here for George Mason. First of the 1-and-1 is good. One more free throw coming. this to make it a one-possession game. He does. 60-57. It is a 3-point game. 7 to play. The crowd on their feet once again. Liberty now trying to answer here to kill the George Mason momentum. Here's Cleveland. Cleveland trying to back his way in. He gets stripped, but it's a reach-in foul they're going to get on Devin Booker. That's only the 16th foul, so this will just be an inbound here. Both teams will now be shooting free throws the rest of the way, though. Liberty gets it into Cleveland. Cleveland backs his way in, spins in the paint, puts it up with the right hand, missed it. Smith with the offensive rebound and fouled on the way up. And Josh Smith will go to the line. A big offensive rebound that time for Smith. And he will have 2 free throws. Boy, George Mason had the stop, but they could not pull down the rebound. Kanga just got his 3rd foul. Smith hits the first of 2. Second is also good. 62-57. Liberty up 5. 6.5 to go. Bounce back. Ooh, that went off the hand. Almost a turnover as that ball almost went into the backcourt. Mincy with it on the outside. Now Mincy drives. Mincy gets cut off. Turnaround jumper's good, but we have a foul before the shot, so that will not count. It'll be a 1-and-1 for George Mason. They got the foul on Colin Porter. That's his 4th. So Porter joins J.J. Harper with 4 fouls for Liberty. Porter wondering what exactly he did there. Yeah, Trav, no. I mean, discuss whatever you want here. This is, it's fair game here. The officials are having a discussion here. That is the one thing with the 16 seeds that, yes, it gives you a chance to win an NCAA tournament game that more than likely you probably wouldn't if right out the gate. But I still just don't think it's right for you to win your conference tournament and then have to basically play your way into the main tournament again by winning a first 4 game. That's the only reason I don't like conference tournament winners having to play in the first 4 to get to the main draw of the tournament. You already did what you needed to do, win your conference tournament. That's the only, but yes, you're right about the 16 seed. It gives you a chance to win a tournament game, and there's some money there involved with your school and your conference too. And some of these smaller conferences, MEAC, NEC, SWAC, what's UMBC, America East. I mean, yeah, they could use. Officials are looking at something here on their monitor. Yeah, UMBC, we know what they did the last time they were in the tournament. And then a couple years ago, Fairleigh Dickinson duplicated that feat. A bencher's off the bench here for Liberty. Not happy with something. That is, who is that? It's a 1-and-1 here for George Mason. Free throw is good. Caden Matheny A deep bencher for Liberty came off the bench. He was hollering something on the Liberty bench there. I have no idea what he was. 2 free throws are good, and it's back to a 3-point game, 62-59. 6 minutes to play. Porter on the drive. Porter puts it up. Tough shot. Well covered. Oh, a foul is called. A late foul is called on George Mason. Tony Skinn, none too pleased on the George Mason sideline. That was a late call. That was well after the shot was released. Porter, I didn't actually even see a foul there at all, but on the replay. But, okay, well, yeah, I guess he did get him across the arm on the, but that was a late call. Porter's free throw's no good. Second is good. Yeah, Travis, I'm not in favor of expansion for the tournament unless, I don't know if you were with me the other day when I was talking about this, and I will here again at the next stoppage, but 63-59. Under 5.5 to go. We've got a good one here to open the NIT. Jumper in the paint is up and good by Corey Mincy, and this is now a 2-point game. 63-61. NIT crowds usually aren't the biggest, but there's a pretty good crowd on hand in this one. Porter off to Cleveland. Cleveland guarded well, sends it back out to Smith, and Liberty will reset. Porter on the outside will now drive. Porter shot blocked. Paolo up and good as the shot clock was running down. 65-61. Big offensive rebound and putback for Josh Smith. He's got 19 now. Averaged just 7 a game in the regular season. Jahari Long with it on the outside. Long will try an open three. That's off the front of the rim. Offensive rebound and putback is good. Devin Booker with the putback, 65-63. Porter brings it up for Liberty. Porter's in with 4 fouls. Porter tries a three. No. Rebound, George Mason. They can tie or take the lead. 3:45 to go. Long. Jahari Long on the drive. Gives it off. Tie game. As Kanga puts it in with the right hand. We are square at 65. Timeout called by Liberty. A 15-point second-half comeback by George Mason, and they have come all the way back to tie this game with 3:26 to go. A 41-point second half for George Mason. They've outscored Liberty 41-31 here in the second half. And they have come all the way back. Travis, if you're still with me, we're talking about the expansion of the NCAA. The only way I would be in favor, like I said, maybe you were with me the other day when I said this, but the only way I would be in favor of expansion is if you also put the regular season champion as well as the tournament winner in the tournament. That would be the only way I would be in favor of expansion. But I think 68's the perfect number, and I'd like to just leave well enough alone. Boy, what a comeback here in the second half for George Mason, down 15 earlier in this second half. Yeah, it looked like it was going to be look like Liberty was about to run away and hide earlier in the half from George Mason, but a phenomenal comeback here by the Patriots. And we still have just under 3.5 minutes to go. Liberty will have the ball here coming out of the timeout. NCAA women's tournament getting underway tomorrow with the first four on the women's side. Richmond and Nebraska, followed by Stephen F. Austin and Missouri State. The two first four games on the women's side tomorrow. Of course, we've got UMBC and Howard in the first four on the men's side. Later on, NC State and Texas. Those were the two teams whenever they were drawn on Sunday. I have to do my own little prediction as to who's going to get in. I didn't even have either of those two teams in it. I had Texas. I think I didn't even have NC State anywhere in the picture. So those were the two teams I was a little surprised when they came up. So here's Liberty out of the timeout on the inbound. 15 on the shot clock. Pass inside, kicked out, and we are going to have a foul. This one's going to go against the Patriots. As we step aside for a timeout, 3:14 to go, 65 apiece. Liberty and George Mason. Yes, Missouri State, yes, formerly Southwest Missouri State. Never did quite understand the whole backstory why they dropped the Southwest out of that. I know it had something to do with state funding or something, but I don't know. You're still a state university. I don't know what. I never did quite understand the whole purpose of dropping the Southwest. But yes, former Valley School, first year in Conference USA, and they go out as the 6th seed in the Conference USA Women's Tournament and win it and get themselves an NCAA tournament berth. Talking about the Missouri Valley Conference earlier, Missouri Valley, a lot of people wondering, are they going to go back to 12 teams? Are they going to stay with 11? I think 11's the perfect number because the Missouri Valley is one of those leagues that plays 20 league games. And if you leave it at 11, you're guaranteed to play each other twice. So I like the number just like it is at 11. Jackie Style, I remember her well. She was on Missouri State's Final Four team that year, whatever year that was. Yes, I remember Jackie well. Watched her several times. One of the best in the women's game. That 2000, was that 2001 that year they made the Final Four, I want to say. Made made a few trips over to Springfield, Missouri. Watched several games over there at the then Hammond Student Center where they played at. Of course, they have built that JQH Arena now, but yes, watched several games in that over there in Springfield. Phenomenal area too. If you've never been to that area, the Ozarks there, Springfield, Branson, Missouri, but beautiful, beautiful, phenomenal area of the country. Here we are all square at 65 with just over 3 minutes remaining. Liberty just trying to hang on at this point and move on to the second round. George Mason looking to complete the comeback here. Liberty at the line here for 2 free throws. Brett Decker Jr. I beg your pardon. This is a 1-1. That's only 9 team fouls. First is good, so we'll get the second anyway. Coach Skin on George Mason has lost the jacket. 2 free throws are good. 67-65. Liberty back up 2. Final 3 minutes. With it here is Jahari Long. Over to Mincy. Back over to Long. Now at the top of the key with it is Devin Booker. Here's Long. Jahari Long on the drive. Spin. Left hand shot blocked. Big defensive stand for Liberty. And the Flames bring it up the floor, up 2.5 left. Open through, passed up and open 3. Wow, Decker Mount ain't going to get much more open than that, but he passed it up. Now he'll drive inside and has it swatted. Back comes George Mason the other way. Mincy drive inside, right hand, too strong. Rebound pulled down by Liberty, and they've got a fast break opportunity, but are going to slow it up instead. 2 minutes to play. Liberty just holding the ball out here at quarter court. 15 on the shot clock. Decker shot. That's blocked. Back-to-back rejections. And now George Mason has 3 timeouts left. They're going to use one right here with exactly 100 seconds to go. Liberty up 2, 67-65. Both teams, George Mason has 2 timeouts left. Liberty has 1. Well, if this opening game of the NIT is any indication of how this NIT tournament's going to be this year, oh boy. I said earlier, I think this is one of the strongest brackets in recent NIT memory, even with the lack of power conference teams in it. Yeah, indeed, Troy. Yeah, this is a great start. George Mason to inbound here. 25 on the shot clock. If Liberty fouls, it is still 1-1. In case of a tie-up, George Mason does have the possession arrow. Patriots get it in. Jahari Long with it on the outside. 10 to shoot for George Mason. Long. Over to Mincy. Mincy for three. Short. That would have given George Mason their first lead of the game, but we have a loose ball foul under the basket on Liberty. This is going to go against Josh Smith. That'll be his third, and this will be a 1-1 for George Mason. Emmanuel Kanga at the line. First of the 1-1 is good. 57% shooter in the regular season. This next one to tie it. Got it. We're tied at 67 with 1:19 to go. George Mason bench gets on their feet. Crowd on their feet. Ooh, bow, almost a turnover for Liberty. Here's Cleveland inside. Tough shot goes. Cleveland somehow got that to go. 69-67, under a minute. Here's the drive inside. Shot blocked. Into the hands of Liberty, and they have a fast break. A head and a dunk to make it a two-possession game as Harper slams it down. 71-67, George Mason. You don't need a three here, and if you're Liberty, you sure don't need to foul like they just did, and I think that just fouled out Colin Porter. That is now double bonus. That is 10 team fouls on Liberty. They did not get Porter on that foul. They got... Might have gotten Josh Smith. So Smith, Harper, and Porter all with 4 fouls for Liberty. 2 free throws are good. This is a 2-point game. Shot clock is off. Got a George Mason player down in the paint area there. Is that Kanga that's down? Can't officially see who that is that's down for George Mason in the paint. That is Kanga that's down. He is rising to his feet. Yeah, Liberty's definitely got some foul issue. That's a good point, Travis. If this game goes to overtime, that could definitely be a factor. Let's see what happened to Kanga here. I didn't see. Well, it looks like when he was boxing out, he just dropped to the floor. Oh, looks like he took an elbow to the elbow to the chest area there, looked like. Yeah, you're exactly right, Travis. This both teams giving it their all here in this game. They continue to look at Kanga on the sideline, and I think the officials are going to look to see if there's any kind of flagrant foul that needs to be called here. He took a shot to the chest area. Kanga double-double tonight, 12 points and 10 rebounds. He's going to have to take a seat at the end of the bench. And they've looked and saw there was nothing there. I didn't. Yeah, they showed the real. I didn't see anything there that warranted. It looked like he just took a shot to the chest area there. Nothing intentional there. There's the inbound and the immediate foul. That will be the 10th team foul on George Mason. So double bonus both ways now. Yeah, no, I didn't. Yeah, there was nothing there for that warranted any kind of flagrant one or anything. Josh Smith at the line, 19 points tonight. 27 seconds to go. First, good. $72-69. This can make it a two-possession game. Got it. 73-69 Flames. Still 27 seconds. Again, if you're George Mason, you don't need a three here. There's still enough time. You can't take too much time here, though. Or they're taking a lot of time this possession. Here's a three on the way. Around and out. That thing was halfway down and came out. Smith with the rebound and a foul. That thing was halfway down, but it did not fully drop. And now Liberty going back to the free throw line to almost try to put this game on ice. Mincy kind of forced a three there, but that was Smith at the line. First is good. This to make it a 6-point game, and does. 75-69. Couple substitutions into the game for Liberty. George Mason's going to have to score quickly now. Up the floor they come. Liberty takes it away from behind. And this will be an exclamation point dunk. Liberty's going to end this game on an 8-2 run to put it on ice. George Mason does get a layup, but 77-71 is your final score. Liberty withstands a furious second-half rally from George Mason, but pulls it out 77-71 and will advance to round two. A doozy to start it off here in the NIT, but it is Liberty that is advancing on to round two, and now they will await the winner of Murray State and Nevada. That game comes up tomorrow night in Reno. That was indeed a fun one. Good night, Travis. Appreciate you tuning in once again. I'll be back on throughout the week. Don't know exactly what day or what game yet, but I'll keep updated. 77-71, Liberty wins it. Let's quickly run down the final stats here before I sign off for the night. Liberty ends up 27 of 55 for 49%, 6 of 17 from three-point range at 35%, 17 of 20 at the free throw line. They made their free throws down the stretch. 85% at the line. For George Mason, they went 23 of 59 for 39%, 5 of 17 from three, 29%, and 20 of 24. They were also very good at the free throw line themselves, 83%. Rebound edge of 36-32 for George Mason. 8 turnovers for George Mason, 6 for Liberty. Both teams did a pretty good job taking care of the ball tonight. Individual scoring, Liberty put 3 in double figures, led by Josh Smith's 23 points. Brett Decker Jr. added 4 in double figures, Brett Decker Jr. added 17. 10 points apiece from Colin Porter and Xander Carter. And 9 from Zach Cleveland, 8 out of J.J. Harper. For George Mason, they put 2 in double figures, led by Jahari Long's 27 points tonight. Corey Mincy added 3 in double figures, 12 out of Emmanuel Kanga, as he had a double-double tonight with 12 points and 10 rebounds. 9 points out of Riley Allenspach, 5 out of Masai Troutman, and 2 points out of Devin Booker, the scoring for George Mason tonight, as Liberty wins it 77-71. Liberty advances to round 2 against the winner of Murray State and Nevada. That game will be coming up tomorrow. Again, still to come tonight. Number 1 seed in this particular quadrant, Auburn, they will take on South Alabama. St. Thomas of Minnesota against the number 4 seed Seattle coming up here later on. Underway, UNC Wilmington and the 3 seed Yale in another quadrant. In another quadrant of the brackets, coming up here in about just less than an hour, Stephen F. Austin and Tulsa. I think that's a very intriguing matchup. UNLV and UC Irvine coming up later. Wyoming, Wichita State underway. Davidson and Oklahoma State just about to tip in Stillwater for that one. 77-71. Again, the final. Liberty wins it to advance to round 2. Liberty picks up win number 26 on the season. George Mason's season concludes 23-10. It's going to wrap it up tonight. Fun one tonight to start off the NIT. Again, my name is John, Sports Bonanza John on YouTube. If you do like my content, really would appreciate a like and subscribe. Also on Kick tonight, Sports Kick John. Also have some content on Twitch at Sport Guru John. You can follow me on both of those social media sites as well. I'll be back throughout the week. I'll try to keep updated on my websites. I don't know what day or what game yet, but we'll try to keep you updated on to when I will be back on and what game and what time and whatnot. So appreciate you joining me tonight. Again, congratulations to the Liberty Flames. They're off to round 2 of the NIT with a 77-71 win and will now sit back and await the winner of Murray State, Nevada tomorrow night out in Reno. Appreciate you joining me, everyone, and I'll see you down the road here as we continue on with college basketball postseason play. Good night, everybody. God bless.